You open your phone at 2 a.m. You are not really looking for anything in particular. You are just scrolling, refreshing, swiping, chasing a tiny microscopic hit of dopamine to numb the quiet anxiety of the night. The blue light washes over your face, illuminating the dark room, and you check a storefront. Maybe it is Steam, maybe it is Amazon, maybe it is some boutique tech retailer. You see something you have been saving up for, something you genuinely want. But there is a catch. You look closer, and the price just went up a lot. And even with that massive price hike, the bold red letters stare back at you. Sold out. You feel that tiny twist in your stomach, that hollow, sinking realization that you are just a number in a spreadsheet. You are just a consumer waiting in an endless digital line, begging to hand over your hard-earned money for a piece of plastic and silicone that will probably just sit on a shelf in a year. We all do this. We tie our happiness, our sense of cultural participation, to the next drop, the next release, the next notification. And that brings us to the Steam Deck. Recently, on a popular tech podcast, it was discussed that Valve quietly raised the prices of the Steam Deck by anywhere from 43 to 46%. The 512GB OLED model jumped to $789. The 1TB version spiked to an eye-watering $949. That is a $240 and $300 hike, respectively. And the absolute punchline to all of this? It sold out in less than 24 hours anyway. Now, you cannot even buy one from the official source. You have to go to scalpers. But this is not really a story about a handheld gaming console. This is a story about the absolute absurdity of modern hyperconsumerism. It is a story about how we have normalized paying substantially more for the exact same thing, while our wages remain stagnant, and while billionaire CEOs argue on the internet. Let us break this down slowly. Valve put out a community post essentially saying, hey, the Steam Deck itself has not changed at all. It is the exact same hardware, but the prices went up because of component costs, fuel increases, and global logistical challenges across the entire industry. In other words, the world is a chaotic mess. Everything is more expensive to move, and that cost is being passed directly down to you. It is the classic corporate maneuver. The house never takes the hit. The consumer always absorbs the shock. Tim Sweeney, the guy behind Epic Games, hopped on Twitter and sarcastically suggested that consumers are just paying for Gabe Newell's mega yachts, which, by the way, is incredibly rich, coming from a guy worth nearly $10 billion himself. It is just two massive titans of industry throwing stones from their glass mansions, while the average person is just trying to scrape together enough cash to play a video game at the end of a soul-crushing work week. But hey, what do I know? I am just a guy talking to a microphone in a dark room. Maybe mega yachts are just really expensive to maintain in this economy. For real, though, it is kind of cringe. During the podcast, the host brought up Forbes estimating these billionaires' net worths and then immediately walked it back. They literally called Forbes pure slop, just made up numbers for clicks. And they are completely right. This perfectly highlights the deep disconnect of our modern era. The media creates these arbitrary wealth leaderboards, generating endless digital slop to keep us engaged, while the reality on the ground is that everyday people are being steadily priced out of their own hobbies. Let us talk about why hobbies actually matter. Let us talk about why this hurts. Gaming, for a lot of people, is not just a luxury. It is a lifeline. It is an escape hatch from a reality that feels increasingly heavy and hostile. When you are deeply burned out, when the rent is due, when the daily news cycle is just a relentless, deafening barrage of negativity, sitting down with a handheld console to play Stardew Valley or Cyberpunk is a way to quiet the noise. It is a way to find a few hours of undisturbed peace. And for a long time, the Steam Deck was the beacon of hope for that peace. It was the entry-level, affordable option that said, hey, you do not need a $3,000 mega rig with flashing neon lights to enjoy video games. You can just buy this little machine and participate in the culture. But now that beacon is getting dramatically dimmer. This price hike represents a much larger, darker trend in our society. The slow squeezing of the middle class. The creeping realization that the simple things that used to bring us comfort are slowly being locked behind higher and higher paywalls. Anyways, I am not trying to sound like a doomsday preacher here. I know it is just a piece of tech, and there are bigger problems in the world. But it feels heavier than that, you know? It feels like a symptom of a much worse disease. The host also mentioned a deep, lingering fear about what this means for the future of PC gaming, specifically bringing up the ghost of the Steam machine. 10 years ago, Valve tried a similar initiative. They partnered with companies to make small form factor computers running an older version of Steam OS, and they absolutely sucked. They were over $1,000 for mid-tier, mediocre hardware. The value proposition was terrible, and the project failed. Now, with memory costs going up and system on a chip prices skyrocketing, history feels like it is just repeating itself. The dream of the affordable, accessible PC console is evaporating in front of us. We are looking down the barrel of a future where gaming is once again an elitist country club. A future where the hardware is just another overpriced luxury brick that most people can only watch other people play on Twitch or YouTube. Like, bro, have you looked at a grocery receipt lately? I bought some eggs, bread, and a terrible iced coffee the other day and felt like I needed to take out a second mortgage. It is exhausting just trying to exist right now, let alone trying to afford a $1,000 handheld console. I want to take a step back and talk about what it actually feels like to be priced out of a community. I remember being in my early years of college. I was working a miserable part-time job at a local coffee shop, making barely enough to cover my half of the rent and buy instant noodles. My laptop at the time was this absolute piece of trash. It sounded like a commercial jet engine taking off whenever I tried to open a simple Word document, let alone run a video game. My friends would all get together online on Friday nights. They would play whatever massive multiplayer shooter was popular at the time. And I just could not join them. I literally did not have the hardware to run the game, and I definitely did not have the money to upgrade. So I would just sit in the Discord voice channel. I would listen to them laugh. I would listen to them call out enemy positions, experience this shared joy, and build these core memories together. Meanwhile, I was literally locked out, staring at a frozen screen, listening to the fun happen without me. That feeling of isolation, of being left behind simply because of a price tag, is deeply, painfully human. We are inherently social creatures. We want to participate in the culture. We want to play the games our friends are playing. We want to understand the inside jokes. We want to be part of the conversation. When giant corporations raise the barrier to entry by nearly 50% overnight, they are not just adjusting a quarterly profit margin. They are actively cutting people out of the cultural zeitgeist. They are taking away that sense of community from the teenager who has been saving up his allowance for 6 straight months. They are taking it from the exhausted warehouse worker who just wanted a comfortable way to unwind on their long train commute home. It is not just about frames per second or screen resolution. It is about access to shared human experiences. And then, of course, as if the situation was not bleak enough, the scalpers immediately swoop in. Because why would they not? We live in a society that actively rewards the parasite. The moment the Steam Deck restock happened, it was completely gone in 24 hours. And now, the only reliable way to get one is to log onto a secondary market and pay some random guy a massive, insulting markup. Scalping is the ultimate symptom of a sick, decaying consumer culture. It is a completely parasitic behavior. The scalper creates absolutely zero value for the world. They do not build anything. They do not improve anything. They simply exploit artificial scarcity and stand between you and the thing you want demanding a toll. And the absolute worst part is that we have just accepted it as normal. We roll our eyes, we sigh, and we say, well, I guess that is just supply and demand. But is it? Or is it just a profoundly broken system that prioritizes pure algorithmic profit over genuine human experience? We have built an infrastructure where automated bots can buy up thousands of units of joy in a fraction of a second just to hold them ransom. I mean, honestly, sometimes I just stare at my ceiling and wonder how we let it get this bad. But then my dog walks in and drops a toy on my face, and I am forced to come back to reality. We are living in an era of hyper-consumerism that feels increasingly hollow and fragile. We buy things desperately, trying to fill a void. We wait in invisible digital lines, constantly refreshing web pages, letting our heart rates spike and our anxiety peak over a plastic box. And when we finally get it, when the package arrives and we tear open the cardboard, the dopamine fades in exactly 1 week. And then we are right back to scrolling at 2 a.m. looking for the next thing to buy. The mega corporations absolutely know this. They know you will eventually cave and pay the extra $240 because they have successfully tied your deep psychological fear of missing out directly to their product ecosystem. They know that your desire to belong is stronger than your desire to save money. But maybe, just maybe, there's a silver lining hidden in all of this corporate greed. Maybe these massive price hikes, this absolute absurdity of billionaires fighting over yachts while global hardware costs skyrocket. Maybe this is the exact wake-up call we desperately need. Maybe it is time to step back, take a deep breath, and fundamentally reevaluate our relationship with this stuff. You do not need the absolute newest piece of tech to be happy. You really do not. You do not need to play the newest AAA release on day one just because Twitter is talking about it. There is a massive, practically infinite backlog of incredible, deeply moving art out there that you can experience right now on whatever garbage hardware you already own. There are independent games made by 2 people in a basement that cost $10, and they will make you feel more profound emotion than a $70 microtransaction-filled corporate slop fest ever could. We have to consciously detach our peace of mind from the endless hype cycle. The world is probably going to keep getting more expensive. Global logistics are going to keep being a nightmare. Fuel prices will rise, silicon components will become scarce, and corporations will always, without fail, pass that financial burden down to you. You cannot control the supply chain. You cannot control the CEOs, but you can control what you give your precious attention to. You can control how much power you let a ridiculous price tag hold over your mental state. If the Steam Deck is nearly $1,000 now, let it be. Let the scalpers sit on their dusty inventory until they are forced to sell at a loss. Let the billionaires argue about their boats on social media. Step outside for a moment. Feel the actual sun on your face. Reconnect with a friend you have not spoken to in a year. Read a physical book. Find absolute joy in the quiet things that do not require an upfront investment of $1,000 and an anxiety-inducing rapid-fire checkout queue. Because at the end of the day, true solace is not found in a higher frame rate or a brighter screen. It is found in the quiet moments of genuine human connection. It is found in being present, in recognizing the utter absurdity of the rat race, and simply choosing not to run. If any of this resonated with you today, if you are feeling that exact same sense of heavy exhaustion with the constant, endless push to consume and spend, consider joining our community. There is a link below to our Discord. It is a very quiet, calm place, a place to just talk, to share the art you are making, to recommend old games, and to vent about the ridiculousness of it all without the pressure of a social media algorithm breathing down your neck. Take care of yourself out there, drink some water, be kind to your mind, protect your peace, and we will talk again soon.